My mother-in-law stood up at my baby shower and announced the baby wasn't my husband's, in front of 40 people. She was wrong and she knew she was wrong. Let me tell you exactly what happened and exactly what I did about it. Daniel and I had been together for 6 years before we got married. We met at a work conference, stayed up talking until 2 in the morning, and I knew by the end of that week that he was the person I wanted to build a life with. We got married 3 years later in a small outdoor ceremony with 60 people and one very loud slideshow his college friends put together. His mother, Renee, smiled through the whole wedding with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. I noticed it at the engagement party. I noticed it at the bridal shower. I noticed it every Sunday dinner for 3 years when she would ask Daniel questions directly across me like I was a piece of furniture someone had left in the wrong room. She never said anything openly. It was always small. A comment about how Daniel had always planned to stay in his hometown. A question about whether I really had time for a marriage given how much I traveled for work. Once she asked, very sweetly, whether my family had a history of commitment issues. I smiled and said not that I knew of. Daniel would say she was just like that with everyone. I knew that wasn't true, but I let it go because she was his mother, and I loved him. And I was not going to be the reason that relationship broke down. Then I got pregnant. We found out on a Tuesday morning, and we sat on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes just holding each other. Daniel cried first. I cried second. We were so happy it felt almost too large to fit inside the apartment. We waited 12 weeks, and then we told our families. Daniel's parents came over for dinner. His dad hugged me so hard my feet left the floor. Renee sat across the table, put her hand over mine, and said she was thrilled. She looked me directly in the eyes when she said it. That was the first lie. My own mother and sister organized the baby shower. It was at my parents' house. Backyard, mid-April. 40 guests. Fairy lights, flower arrangements, little sandwiches cut into triangles. The whole thing. My best friend Maya flew in from Vancouver. My college roommate drove 4 hours. Daniel's aunts came, his cousins, women I had known for years. Renee arrived early and helped set up. She carried chairs, she complimented the decorations. She hugged me at the door and said I looked beautiful. That was the second lie. About an hour in, we were doing the gift opening. I was sitting in the middle of everything, Daniel beside me, my mom across from me with her phone out taking photos. Someone handed me a box wrapped in yellow paper. I was reading the card when I heard a chair scrape back. Renee stood up. The conversation around me dropped. Not all at once. In pieces, like a radio being turned down slowly. She said she needed to say something. She said she had been holding it in for months, and she could not in good conscience stay quiet any longer. She said that what she was about to share came from a place of love for her son. Then she said she had reason to believe the baby was not Daniel's. The yard went completely silent. She said she had seen messages. She said she had spoken to someone. She said Daniel deserved to know the truth before the baby arrived, and she was sorry, but she could not keep watching this happen to her son. I looked at Daniel. His face had gone the color of paper. I put the yellow box down on the table in front of me very carefully. I smoothed the ribbon on top of it. I took one breath. Then I asked Renee calmly what messages she had seen and who she had spoken to. She faltered. She said she had seen things on Daniel's phone. Conversations? She said a woman had contacted her directly. I asked her the woman's name. She gave a name I had never heard in my life. I nodded. I asked Daniel to get my phone from inside. He stood up and walked into the house. Nobody in that yard made a sound. My mother was standing very still by the door. Maya was looking at Renee the way you look at something you are trying to understand. Daniel came back with my phone. I opened it and pulled up the app we had both downloaded when I first started traveling for work. A location sharing app. 18 months of data. Every city I had been in. Every hotel, every conference, every flight home. A complete timestamped record of exactly where I had been every single day. I handed the phone to Daniel first. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he looked at his mother. He asked her what the woman's name was again. Renee repeated it. Daniel said he did not know anyone by that name. He said he had never seen any messages. He said he did not know what she was talking about. Renee started to say something about the woman contacting her directly, about screenshots, about how she was only trying to protect him. Daniel held up one hand and she stopped. He turned to me and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. He walked across the yard to his mother, took her gently by the arm, and walked her through the side gate. I could hear their voices outside, but I could not make out the words. They were out there for 11 minutes. I know because Maya timed it on her phone because that is the kind of friend she is. When Daniel came back in, he was alone. He sat back down beside me, picked up the yellow box, and handed it back to me. He said, "Open it." So I did. Nobody mentioned Renee for the rest of the afternoon. We ate the sandwiches and opened the gifts, and my mom kept refilling everyone's glasses, and by the time the fairy lights came on, it almost felt like a normal day. Almost. 3 days later, Daniel came home and told me what his mother had admitted to him in the car that afternoon. There were no messages. There was no woman. She had invented it entirely. She had been frightened, he said. Frightened that the baby would pull him further from her, frightened that she was losing him by degrees. And this was the only way she could think to stop it. He told her she had a choice. She could call me and apologize directly, personally, with full honesty, in front of whoever I wanted present. Or she would not meet the baby. Not at the hospital, not at home, not anywhere. She called me the next day. She talked for a long time. She cried. She said she did not know what she had been thinking. She said she was ashamed. I listened to all of it. Then I told her that I accepted her apology and that I hoped she understood it would take a long time before I trusted her in a room with my child unsupervised. She said she understood. She was not at the hospital when our daughter was born. Daniel was there, and my mom and Maya, who drove through the night to make it. 6 weeks later, Renee met her granddaughter for the first time. She held her for about 5 minutes and cried the entire time. I stood by the window and watched and said nothing. Some things you don't need to say out loud. The keeping of them is enough.